Almighty God, you rule all the peoples of the earth. Inspire the minds of all women and men to whom you have committed the responsibility of government and leadership in the nations of the world. Give to them the vision of truth and justice, that by their counsel all nations and peoples may work together. Give to the people of our country zeal for justice and strength for forbearance, that we may use our liberty in accordance with your gracious will. Forgive our shortcomings as a nation, purify our hearts to see and love the truth. Amen.
Good morning. We welcome everyone to this year's Talent Memorial Day service. It's our 95th year. And it's an old farmer thing, parade before 7, clear by 11. Maybe we'll have our parade. Following the service today, there will be a parade marching to the Evergreen Cemetery for the Memorial Day salute, presented by American Legion Post number 1571, with Donald Chambers presiding. After the service, at the cemetery, everyone is invited to the chicken barbecue at noon in the Dresden Church Hall. The dinner is hosted each year by the Dresden Methodist Church. And the Pledge of Allegiance by Boy Scout.
Abraham Lincoln received a letter from the Gettysburg Committee to speak at the battle ground. This was a serious concern for Abraham Lincoln. The battle was fought and thousands died. President Lincoln needed to go but did not know what to say. While sitting on a train ride to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, he wrote his speech in the back of an envelope. On November 19, 1863, Abraham Lincoln sat in the hot sun waiting his turn to speak for over 3 hours, while other politicians and orators spoke. Today, May the 29th, 2017, gives me great pleasure to introduce Harlan Hope Dre, who will recite Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address.
Fourscore and 7 whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated will long endure. We are not on a great battlefield without war. We are going to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that nation may live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little know nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us to live in, rather, to be dedicated here to the great task remaining before us. That from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Our guest Memorial Day speaker today is Mark Moon. He's the broker owner of Navajo Realtors. He served on active duty in the Marine Corps for a year, 1993 through 1997. Currently is the first sergeant and 20-year member of the Marine Corps Reserves in Buffalo. Mark has served with Rainbow Company, 8th Tank Battalion, Operation Enduring Freedom 2005, and Echo Company, 4th Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion and Weapons Platoon Operation Iraq Freedom 2009. Mark and his wife Christine have 2 sons, Eli and Ryan, and they live in the Indian area. Mark.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for coming today. When I was discussing today with my mother this week, and we were talking about the weather, it never ceases to amaze me some of the things that my parents will come up with. So, Mom's first concern was what kind of shower cap I was going to bring for my uniform today. She didn't want me to ruin my uniform. I don't know where she's seen Marines wearing shower caps and boots. Although very much alive and well, I would like to take a moment this Memorial Day to thank a local veteran who is memorializing all our local veterans and helping their families throughout the year. Andy Swartout is an active life member of the Penn Yan American Legion in VFW and has been a past commander and trustee of each organization. For the past 16 years, Andy has served as the chairman of the Penn Yan Memorial Day Parade and events which he is busy doing right now. I met Andy a few years ago at the Penn Yan VFW and as a Lions Club member. I have assisted him a handful of times with honor guards for local veterans' funeral details, together with other local veterans. He voluntarily dedicates his time to doing everything he can to make sure that an honor guard is present as needed for local veterans' families and burial details upon request. Andy has consistently done this for many years, and he has completed approximately 350 funerals. He's a quiet, humble, caring, and helpful man. He's not arrogant or boastful, and I've always known very little about his service to our nation. Last Veterans Day at Cuca College, Andy was one of the featured local veterans on a short documentary that chronicled local veterans' experiences. In it, Andy revealed that he was present and participated in the Ai Drang Valley in Vietnam. Many of you are familiar with the epic battle of these events after watching the movie about U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore in We Were Soldiers. In Andy's minute of fame in the college film, he briefly states how he would be scared to death to be put in that position today. Today, he is truly doing his part to honor the legacy of the men lost in that valley and for all of you who have served in Vietnam and lost brothers in arms. He is truly keeping the faith with them and all of our fallen brothers and sisters. If any of you know Andy and his wife Kathy, please thank him for his continued service. Now I would like to tell you about another friend of mine, Marine Corps Lance Corporal John Hale. Upon returning home from a deployment in 2005, several dozen of us from my Syracuse, New York Reserve Unit were given follow-on orders to attend the entry-level Marine Corps School of Infantry East, which we call SOI. Handfuls of us began leaving with a little bit of griping here and there to fill any available SOI school seats. And upon arrival, I was quickly counseled by the instructor group that as a sergeant, any influence or assistance I feel I needed to render to the students was not necessary. I was expected to complete 100% of all the required training with the rest of the private and PFC student ranks. The instructors were required to do their job as trained, and the students were required to learn the ropes with little outside influence or assistance. I was expected to attend all roll call formations with the students. Once we began training, I quickly developed a liking for one PFC Hale. He did not fit the usual stereotypes of other students at SOI. It can be a hard transition for some Marines, and a transition into Marine life with very little personal space, but just enough personal time off to get in trouble. Most students at SOI after boot camp are learning how to take care of themselves and each other for the first time. These men are affectionately called boots by their Marine brethren due to their recent boot camp graduation and lack of experience. They demonstrate various degrees of maturity at this point in their lives. And yes, the SOI instructor's job is to mold these young men into expeditionary warriors together with a basic fundamental knowledge of infantry tactics where they will not hesitate to follow orders in combat. John Hale did not allow the intimidating demands of this training to dampen his spirits. He was a well-rounded, strong, young, healthy, and mature young man. He had an infectious smile that was always complemented by a little devil that rode on his shoulders. He quickly figured out that this Sergeant Moon in the back would not fall in and stand mixed in with the rest of the student body platoon in formation, but rather the sergeant would stand directly behind the formation. During morning accountability, I would sound off just like the other students one by one until they got to me, and I was always last. PFC Hale discovered that if he was the last Marine in formation in the 4th rank, he could hesitate just long enough so that I would sound off, and he could sound off right after me like nothing happened. There was little time for me to take any corrective action when this first happened. The platoon instructor immediately followed roll call with a quick attention, right face, forward march, and we were off to our morning's period of instruction. After John Hale caught me chuckling to myself about it, he then continued to turn this into a morning ritual game between the two of us. Whenever he could get away with it, he kept it up, and a couple times this turned into an ugly mug face, a quick shove, or some other inappropriate foolishness from me to make sure that he knew his place. His quick wit and dedication earned the respect of the fellow students and all the Marines who had come with me from Syracuse. Once we split into our specific MOS training, we would catch back up with PFC Hale on long, rough marches. He never quit. His smile was always going when he had a chance to breathe. His attitude kept a lot of Marines going. And after deployment and attending 2 months of SOI, we were finally graduating right before Christmas. I was really looking forward to the holidays and seeing my wife and sons. I was looking forward to a 2006 where I could get back to work and be free from a deployment. Waiting for a ride to the airport, an old crusty Marine gunner came strolling through the parade deck of Marines shouting, "Hail, hail." He was accompanied by a young officer, and they caught up with Hale, and you could hear him say, "Hale, we've been waiting for you. Welcome aboard. This is your platoon commander. Grab your trash and follow me. Your company has started their pre-deployment workup training, and we're taking you directly to your platoon sergeant to check in." I felt truly fortunate that I was going home and this young Marine would be jumping in with both feet right into an active duty infantry line platoon, getting ready to quickly deploy to combat. John Hale had finished his varsity year of football and graduated high school from Shreveport, Louisiana in 2005. That same year, after completing boot camp, he joined us and graduated with us in December. He departed the States as a member of 2nd Battalion, 8th Marine, 2nd Marine Division out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina in the spring of 2006. Later that year, in October, John accompanied me on an unexpected run around the block a couple times in Benton on a rainy night, mixed with a few tears, after sitting down with my latest edition of the Marine Corps Times. Lance Corporal John Hale was escorted home from Dallas, Texas, to Shreveport, Louisiana, and laid to rest earlier that month with full military honors. He was 20 years old, and his number on the varsity squad had been number 53, and his number in our platoon had been number 69 or 70, depending on when the smart aleck decided to sound off. He had sent his friends and family notes from Iraq whenever he could online. He messaged them about the fact that he knew this was not an easy life he chose, but one that he accepted, and thinking of his family is what would keep him going and get him through it. He chose to serve for all of us. I have known men like John and other Marines and corpsmen that I have served with who have been far too young to leave us. They're far too great to ever forget. I am proud to have been in their presence, and the people of this country are forever in their debt. Forever. Semper Fidelis, John Hale, and I will always miss you. Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
Freedom is not free. Thank you, Mark, for your service and for the story that you tell this morning. We would like to thank you for coming. The Dresden Choir, members of the North Point Methodist Choir, and sundry Dresdenites. So, and we also like to thank Cheryl for putting together this arrangement this morning that talks about our country and how fortunate we are to live here in the United States of America.
I'm about to read are the deceased members from the town of Troy who served their country with honor. For World War I, William Anthony, Seward Bartholomew, Charles Beard, Clarence Beard, DeForest Bishop, Dr. Thorne Bond, Rex Burdine, Ansel Burt, Fred Clayton, Earl Conley, Lawrence Conley, Emmett Crane, Lucius Daggett, Albert Del Rosa, Charles Dunn, Charles Dykeman, George Enos, James Gavigan, Melvin Gardner, Homer Hood, Richard Hyde, Chris Jensen, Peter Jensen, Harold Johnson, Russell LeVar, Clarence Ludlow, Joe Levine, Charles Mashusky, James McClure Sr., Thomas McMahon Sr., Harry Meeker, Alex Mickelson, Carl Nelson, died in action, Christian Nelson, Oliver Norman, Albert Casilio, Christian Peterson, Alonzo Predmore, Ronald Schottmiller, Elias Schreiber, Horace Searles, Leslie Smith, Frank Thomas, Roy Van Houten, Dr. Sidney Vermillier, killed in action, Frank Wadsworth, and Wilbur Ware. In World War II, John Alden, Chester Anderson, Glenn Anderson, Willis Barnes, Walter Beeler, Navarre Beard, William Beardsley, Harold Bell, Wendell Bell, Roger Bell, Roy Bell, Ralph Bishop, Carsten Borgman, Gregor Borgman, Newt Borgman, Henry Brudier, Laverl Brown, Carlton Burnside, Donald Campbell, Ernest Carlson, Leon Carson, Louis Casson, Arthur D. Chambers, POW, Lee Chambers, Anton Christensen, killed in service, John Christensen, Robert Christensen, Stuart Conley, Roger Curtis, Robert Davey, Bernard Dean, Calvin DeWitt, Robert Dunning, Philip Edmonds, Herbert Ellis, Stuart Enos, Andrew Eskelson, General Claude Fahrenheit, John Finger, Bernard Flynn, Earl Fuller, prisoner of war, Marion Dunning Flynn, Howard Gardner, Elmer Gould, Henry Geller, Clyde Liddell, Clarence Griner, Kenneth Ham, Norman Hanson, John Herbert, Joseph Hesting, Raymond Hibbert, Victor Hively, Harold Hoskins, Ralph Jacobs, Clarence Jensen, Fred Jensen Sr., Gifford Jensen, Russell Jensen, Vigo Jensen, Donald Johnson, Stella Johnson, William Kiefer, D. Carrick, Robert Kajar, William Clark, Henry Ward Lappin, killed in action, Henry Larson, James McClure Jr., Thomas McMahon Jr., Donald McMahon, Darwin Metler, James Mortellero, Gordon Nelson, Paul Dorsey Nelson Jr., William Willard Nelson, Wallace Newlander, killed in action, Douglas Nicholson, Charles Phelan, William Potts, John Powers, Grant Peeler Jr., Clarence Ryle, Glenn Reiners, Robert Rugg, Glenn Scott, Elmer Silman, Archie Scranton, Lionel Schuler, Dorothy Dean Shudlick, Sanford Simmons, Joseph Sisson, Howard Sorensen, killed in action, Howard Snedeker, William Spaulding, Theodore Spence, Frank Stakoyak, John Stein, John Swartout, Keith Swinburne, Burton Tomes, George Travis, Lester Travis, killed in action, Marion Smith, Seattle, Theodore Wood, Frank Wadsworth, James Wadsworth, Robert Wadsworth, Logan White, Paul Warden, Robert Yerkes, Elmer Willard. In the Korean War, Jack Elverson, Lawrence Brouillard, Richard Brow, Bernard Campbell, Robert Conway, Alan Decker, Paul E. Dixon Sr., Elton Hall, Maynard Hall, Paul Hansen, Fred C. Hobbs, Paul E. Jensen, DeForest Jensen, Richard Johnson, Robert Kennedy, Frederick G. Mashevsky, Clifford Peterson, David Schreiber, Clinton Sisson Jr., Mike Sisson, Steve Sokolowski, Kenneth State, Bernard Bolden, Charles Vermillier, Carol Welker, Eugene Wilson. In the Vietnam War, John Alden, Glenn Bishop, Alan Beckworth, Robert Calder, Bruce Chambers, Pete Christensen, Mary Latman Hume, Gary Kuhlman, Leon LeVar, Neil Latman, Douglas L. McLeod, Charles E. Larson, Paul Nelson, Gary Stein, and Wilmot Watson.
He is trembling of the wind.
forget the sacrifices that those who have served our country have made for us. Let us go forth with peace in our hearts as we extend peace to each other. That peace will extend throughout the world. May you go forth with God's help in extending that peace and living together. Amen.